Okay, so in this video, we'll talk about pihole. We'll talk about what it is, some of the use cases for the pihole, and then we'll give a detailed description of how to set it up. And I'm going to approach the setup process in a really basic way, such that if you're somebody that has absolutely no experience with computers, you've never been into the settings of your router, you've got no idea what an IP address is or anything like that, I'm going to do it in a way that you could do it, such that, you could just follow along the steps, step by step. And all the links to all of the things I'll be doing in this video are in the description. And as obviously a massive bonus, Pi-hole and everything else is completely free. You don't need to pay for any software or anything. Okay, so let's talk about what Pi-hole is. The simple way to understand it is that it's going to block ads on your network, right? So you can block specific domain names, meaning specific websites. You can block certain ads, block ads from apps. There's a bunch of different stuff for what you can do with it, but those are use cases of Pi-hole. What Pi-hole actually is, and this is going to get technical, but I'll explain it. It's called a DNS sinkhole. So it prevents devices from unwanted content without installing any software, on your PC or whatever, or on your phone. So it will block ads or block unwanted content, right, on any device on your network. What is a DNS sinkhole? Well, it's a DNS server that intercepts DNS requests that are attempting to connect to domains. Now, if you're asking me, well, Hamid, what's a DNS? A DNS is just a set of standards the internet uses for data exchange. So basically, it's a data exchange sinkhole. So what the Pi-hole does is it has a list of these DNS requests and it sinks them into a black hole, basically blocking them. So what you'll see when you're looking on Pi-hole is you'll see a whole bunch of DNS requests. So these are data exchange requests that are sent from your devices, be it your printer, your iPad, your TV, your phones, computer, literally all the devices that use your Wi-Fi network. They're constantly sending data exchange requests back and forth to the mothership, so to speak. And so some of those data requests you're not going to want. For example, if they're ads that are going to appear at the top of your calculator app. So what you can do is you can actually watch what's coming into your network or what's leaving your network, what DNS requests, what data exchange requests are happening, and you can block them. So for me, I use Pi-hole for 4 different use cases. You should hopefully now understand that the Pi-hole is looking at DNS requests, data exchange requests, and it's syncing them into a black hole, the ones that we don't like, right? So I use that for 4 different things. Firstly, probably the most obvious kind of thing is that I use it to remove ads from my network, right? So although it doesn't block YouTube ads, because YouTube are very clever and they've basically made it such that they're serving ads on the same data exchange requests as they're giving content. So in order to block the YouTube ads, you'd have to actually block the content. So it's not possible to block YouTube ads using the Pi-hole. So what Pi-hole does is, for example, on all of those free apps that you can get from the App Store, all those apps that are free, they're all free because they load them up with ads, right? So you can remove those ads and it makes those free apps absolutely amazing. So on my phone now, all of those free apps that I use, perfect, no ads on them whatsoever. It improves the user experience tenfold. Another use case I use it for is I can actually disable the ad blocker on Chrome, and then I can go on all of those news websites that, when you get that request that says, could you please disable your ad blocker or disable ad blocker in order to view this content. So you can disable the ad blocker, but the Pi-hole will still sync their ads. So you can look at their websites and they think you're not using an ad blocker, but really you are. That's the first reason, to remove ads, right? Second reason I use it, and this is a big one, family tracking. You can track what the whole family is doing without touching their devices. There's no need to take your wife's phone, your kids' iPads, the computer and install software on it. Nah. Each request that the devices send is shown in real time, and you can see which device it's coming from. You can see what websites and apps your family are using. Not exactly what websites. It's not going to show you that your kid opened this toy app, but it will show you the data requests that the apps are sending, and so you can block some of them. And what I actually do is I'll take, for example, my kid's iPad and then open apps on it and see, you can open the apps and at the same time watch on the Pi-hole what's popping up, and you can block certain requests. So if all you're doing on your kid's iPad is just literally drawing and the app sending a whole bunch of data, you can block all of those DNS requests. I mean, no one wants you don't want your kids to be being tracked what they're doing just when they're coloring in something on the iPad, right? And another thing when it comes to just family tracking plus safety is you can actually get whole huge lists of domain names that are, for example, related to cryptocurrency or related to drugs or whatever, you know, gambling. And you can import those lists of thousands of websites, import them straight into Pi-hole and block thousands of them all at once. So I use that for example, adult content, block thousands of those websites in literally a minute. So that moves me on to my third use case, which is blocking websites, which is slightly different to the whole family safety tracking thing. I also use it to block specific websites that I know take up my time. Obviously, the things like social media and news websites. So, you know, you click on a Daily Mail article and then you end up reading 15 of them and you realize that you just read a whole bunch of random stuff about random celebrities or whatever. So I blocked Daily Mail, The Sun, all those kind of like trashy news websites. I've blocked Instagram, Twitter, so that way I can stay focused during the day when I'm studying or working. And if I really want to go on Twitter or Instagram, then I can turn off the Wi-Fi on my phone and turn on the mobile data and access it that way. But just adding that bit of friction between me and those social media websites is great. All right, and then the last use case for me, which is, I kind of already touched on it, is I get to monitor what the devices on my network are doing. And I don't mean the phones and stuff. I just mean, for example, I can look at the time that I'm asleep and I can see between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. there was all of these DNS requests that were sent from all my devices, from my TV to my printer. And I'm, you know, obviously everybody in the house is asleep, but you've got 400 data requests going on through that whole period. And that's obviously where your devices are sending information. And so you're actually able to look at it and see. So, for example, my TV was beaming out a whole bunch of Netflix data, and I've never used the Netflix app on my TV, so I blocked that. And yeah, so those are my 4 use cases for Pi-hole, which I think is fantastic considering it's completely free. So I use it to remove ads, you know, family safety and tracking kind of thing, blocking websites, and just looking at what specific devices are doing on the network. Okay, so let's jump into the setup side of things. Let's talk about what you would actually need in order to, you know, run this whole kind of server Pi-hole network. You're going to need a Raspberry Pi. You can actually use any Raspberry Pi as long as it has 512 megabits of RAM. So you can't use the new Raspberry Pi Pico. If you're new to all of this stuff and you just want me to tell you what Pi to get, then you can go with the really cheap Raspberry Pi B Plus, which has an Ethernet port and brand new costs £23 on Amazon. You can get it for about £20 as well on eBay. Again, it doesn't matter if it's used or new. These Raspberry Pis are quite robust, so I recommend getting it on Amazon for £23. You're also going to need a micro SD card, which is what we're going to put the operating system onto the Raspberry Pi. So you can get those for $5.99 on Amazon. Get the SanDisk Ultra 32 gig ones. Now you're going to need a computer that is physically connected to your modem, so via an Ethernet cable, not wireless. So if your computer is already connected to your modem or your router and it's connected wired wise, then that's fine. But you're also going to need one additional Ethernet cable to connect the Raspberry Pi to the router as well. If you're using, for example, a laptop and you're using wireless, then you're going to need to connect your laptop wired to your modem or to your router. So you're going to need either 1 or 2 Ethernet cables depending on your current setup. Now you can get these for 78p on Amazon, so super cheap. Now, if you're not a total noob and you know what you're doing when it comes to computers, you're fairly skilled at computing, then you can set up the Pi-hole wirelessly. I'm not going to cover that in this video. It gets a bit finicky. It's just easier to have your computer connected directly to the router. For those of you that are tech savvy, the reason being is because when you turn off your DHCP on your router, then it disconnects all of your wireless devices. And so for someone who's not tech savvy that's doing that, if they were to do that, then they might panic and be like, what the hell, I can't access anything. So that's why keep it wired, keep it simple. All right, and then finally, you're going to need a way to insert your SD card, your micro SD card, into your computer. So my laptop has a micro SD card slot on the side. Some PCs have a micro SD card or SD card slot on the top or on the side. If you don't have one, you need a way to connect the SD card to your computer, to your desktop. So you might need to get a USB adapter. Again, you can get these on Amazon, £4 on Amazon. So let's say you don't have any of what I just mentioned. You got about 2 Ethernet cables, a micro SD card, a USB adapter, and the Raspberry Pi. You're looking at £32 total, which is mad cheap. I mean, especially for what you're getting here. Okay, so I'm here on my computer. So let's go through the steps. We now need to install an operating system on the SD card. So stick the SD card in your computer. I'm going to stick mine in now. All right, now we need something called Balena Etcher. So we need to go and download that. So if we go onto Google and we type in Balena Etcher, it'll be the first result that pops up. Click on here. And then you want to click here, download for Windows. Let it download, and then we just need to install it. This Balena Etcher is what we're going to use to install the operating system on the SD card. All right, so it's finished downloading for me. Took about a minute. So now we're going to open it up, click run. All right, I agree. Basic installation, right? Here we go. Okay, so it should automatically detect your SD card. So I've got a 32 gig SD card. Comes up as 31.9 gig just because of how Windows detects storage. So now that we've got this is what we're going to use to install the operating system onto the SD card. So we need to get the operating system now. So I'm going to use something called Diet Pi. So if you just type in Diet Pi into Google, first one that comes up, dietpi.com, click it, come up here up top, download. So this is the operating system for the Pi. Since we're using a Raspberry Pi, we click here, Raspberry Pi, and then we're just going to download 32-bit image. Download. Same size file as the Balena Etcher, so it should take similar amount of time to download. Give it a minute or so. Alright, so that's finished downloading now, so let's open it up. Now, here's an important point. I've already got 7Z, which is like an application used to open .zip files, basically. So this file, when it downloads as a .7Z file. So you may need to download this. So let me just show you how to do that. 7Z or 7-zip. So here it is. So if you type in 7-zip on Google, come up here to download. They show you like different versions. You can just go with the latest one. So here you've got 19.0021. I don't know what it's going to be when you see this, but just click, the latest one, download, and then install it just as normal. And then that will allow you to actually be able to open up some of these .zip files. So once you're able to open up this .7Z file, you just want to click extract and extract it into your downloads folder or wherever. I've already got it, so it's just asked me if I want to replace all of them. Just go with yes to all for now. All right, so that was done in real time. That was like, 5 seconds or something. Okay, so we come back to our Balena Etcher. We want to click on flash from file. Come into our downloads, and then we're just going to look for the Diet Pi file, which is this one here, Diet Pi RPI. Click it, open, and there you go. So we've got a 1 gig file, which is the operating system image file, and we're going to put that onto our SD card. We're going to hit flash, and then this should take, anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes to do. So ignore it when it pops up here saying, okay, new disk, etc. Just close these. That's because it's formatted your SD card. So, all right, and then we'll let that finish. So here it's saying ETA 5 minutes. All right, so once that finishes, it looks like this, where basically the Windows doesn't recognize the SD card anymore. So it's asking you to format it. Don't format it, right? Just close this out. Yeah, that's fine. Close it. And then now you can just take the SD card out of your computer and stick it in your Raspberry Pi. So now we need to access the Raspberry Pi remotely. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to what's happening here because I feel like it would confuse some people, especially if they're not used to operating in the command line. So I'm not going to explain too much, but just follow along. It looks more technical than it is. So connect an Ethernet cable into your Raspberry Pi and turn it on. You obviously turn it on by just plugging in the, depending on which Raspberry Pi you have, either the micro USB or the USB-C cable. Obviously, the Ethernet cable needs to be connected to your router. I watch too many YouTube videos online, and it's always the Americans saying router. Obviously, here in the UK, we say router. So you make sure the Ethernet cable is connected to your router. If you hear me saying router, you don't know what I'm saying. I'm saying router for you guys that learn English the American way. Okay, so now we need to find the IP address of the Raspberry Pi, and there's multiple ways of doing this. You can use something like an IP scanner, but the way that I'm going to go with is probably the best, considering some of the later steps that we have to do later on anyway. So we're going to access the router's or your modem's web interface. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, it's not too complex. Basically, on your router you have a sticker and it looks like this. You're looking for the IP address, which is often, for example, 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1, and many could be many other things as well. But you're just looking for the sticker, and on that sticker on your router, usually at the bottom it will say IP address. Also take note of the password, which is on the sticker as well. So I recommend just taking a picture of it on your phone or something. Okay, so now using the computer, so you just want to make sure that both the computer you're using and the Raspberry Pi are on the same network. So you can close your Boolean etcher now, come up here to your browser bar, and then you want to type in the IP address that was on your router. So here mine's 192.168.0.1. Press enter. And so since I'm with Virgin Media, it's going to load up my Virgin Media logging interface. Whoever you're with, TalkTalk, Sky, Vodafone, whoever you're with, it's going to come up. And then you just want to put in the password that is on your sticker as well. And then hit next, login, whatever. All right, so once you're logged in, all of these routers are generally have the same kind of web interface. Some of them look more complex than others. Don't worry about it. We're just looking for anywhere that says connected devices, just a way to see what's connected to our router. So over here, I've got a clear connected devices. I've also got like some devices here, which it tells me I've got a Chromecast, got my laptop, desktop, Diet Pi. So you can see here that my Diet Pi is connected via Ethernet. Now, this isn't good enough because we're looking for my IP address. So what we want to do is we're going to come up here to connected devices, and then we're looking for the Diet Pi's IP address. So here it's 192.168.0.14, so 14. So just take note of that IP address. This is the IP address that we're going to use to log on to the Diet Pi and the pihole. Okay, so once you've got that IP address, we now want to go into our Windows search. So I access my search by hitting the Windows key on my keyboard and then type in, once you're on your search, type in run, and then you want to open that. So run will bring up this small window over here at the bottom. Another way to get it is if you press the window key and R together, then it brings up the run command. This is basically a run command in order for you to get into the command line of your computer. Don't worry too much about it. Once you've got this run window open, type in CMD, so just CMD, and then hit OK, and that'll bring up this window. Again, it just looks complex. It's not. Don't worry about it. So we're going to type in SSH. So now we're going to connect remotely to the Raspberry Pi. So we're typing in SSH. We're going to press space, and then we're going to type in root, and then we're going to do the @ sign. So root @ and then we're going to put in the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. So 192.168.0. For me, it's 14. Yours can be anything, right? So SSH space root @ 192.168.0, whatever yours is, and then enter. And then now you can see it says, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Now I'm going to type in yes. Depending on what options it can give you, it might give you Y and -N. Just go with, the yes option basically. So type in yes. Then it's going to ask for your password. The password is Diet Pi. Now, importantly here, I've typed in Diet Pi, but it hasn't shown me typing. It didn't show the stars or anything. That's a security feature. So when you type and you're not getting any feedback to say that you've typed a letter, don't worry about it. It has registered the typing. So now I've typed in Diet Pi. If I press enter, and there you can see it logs me straight into the Diet Pi. So the password is literally Diet Pi, as in DIETPI, Diet Pi. That's the password, right? Okay, so now you just want to follow what I'm doing just through this settings. So we're basically just going to press enter here, okay. And then now it's going to run some updates. So you might get a notification to say, do you want to install VS Code? Just click no, you don't want to install it. Then you get this little survey thing asking you if you want to, share your data. Just press right or left on the arrow keys on your keyboard to move around. Come down to right and hit OK. And then it'll ask you if you want to change your password. You don't have to change your password, but obviously it makes sense to, right? So just, press left over on your keyboard to come over to OK, hit OK, and then put in your new password. Ask you to enter it again. Now it's asking you if you want to change another password, which is part of the system password. Again, hit OK, put the same password in. I mean, you can put a different password, but it just gets confusing. So go to the same one. Then it says, something about serial console. Just hit OK. None of this stuff is really that important, to be honest. All right, and then you just want to come all the way down here to install, and then hit enter. And then it's going to tell you, do you want to just install a pure minimal image? We're going to say yeah, so okay. I told you this looks way more complex than it is because it's all just text. So it looks like one of those hacking out of a movie things, but it isn't. It's not complex. Okay, so once that's fully installed, you'll get this kind of like root at Diet Pi, and it will tell you, some information about the Raspberry Pi. So I've got the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B Plus. My Pi is running at 48 degrees Celsius. Gives you my IP address. So yeah, just some information about the Pi basically. Now what we're gonna do is we want to install pihole now, which is the whole purpose of this video. So we're gonna come up over to here. Keep this tab open with your connected devices. We're gonna use it in a little bit. We'll come back to Google, and then you want to type in pihole like this, and then GitHub, pihole GitHub, and then click the first one that comes up. If you want, you can just type in your address bar github.com/pi-hole-pi-hole. I just prefer to Google stuff. All right, so now you scroll down all the way down to here where you see one-step automated install. Double click all of this, copy it all, come back to your remote client for the Raspberry Pi, and then you want to copy and paste here. You just want to right click. So you right click and it will copy paste that command in, and then now it will start to install pihole. And then in a minute or two, you'll get an alert to say that you're about to install an ad blocker on your Raspberry Pi. Okay, so here's the notification. So you just hit OK, i.e. press enter. And then pihole is free, but powered by your donations. And again, feel free to donate. I really respect what these guys have done, and they put a lot of work into it, especially with the admin panel and everything. So yeah, hit OK here. And then it says, you need some server something. Don't worry about it. Just hit OK. And then now, I personally pick Cloudflare. So you just scroll down and select Cloudflare. You can leave it at Google or just go with Cloudflare. I'm going to go with Cloudflare. So hit OK. So then just press enter again here. Press enter again here. Enter again here. And enter again here. So do you wish to install the web admin interface? Enter again. And then do you wish to install the web server? Hit enter again. Do you want to log queries? Enter. Select the privacy mode. Enter. All right, here we go. So this is the important part. So you can see it says configure your devices to use Pi-hole as a DNS server. Don't worry about the information. All we're interested in here is what our admin web page login password is. So open up like a notepad or something, or you can write it down on your phone or whatever. Pay attention to the capitals 4JJ G20JO. And I'll save that. Save it as a password. Okay. So come back to here, hit OK. And that's it. Now we're done. So now we've installed Pi-hole. So we're not fully done, but at least we've installed Pi-hole onto the Raspberry Pi now. And if you're not tech savvy at all, you never really dealt with a Raspberry Pi and you made it this far, well done. This is a decent amount to be done. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to come to our browser, come in our web page, and then we want to type in the IP address of our Raspberry Pi. So 192.168.0. So I believe mine was 14. We can check that by going back to our hub, which, as well I said, leave it open. So yeah, mine's 192.168.0.14. So come back over to here, type that into the address browser and hit enter. The address bar. And so here we've got Pi-hole, your black hole for the internet advertisements. Did you mean to go to the admin panel? So click that. The reason why is in order to get to the admin panel, you want to do 192.168.0. Whatever yours is. Mine's 14/admin to get to the admin panel. But if you just type in just the IP address 192, then it takes you to this little homepage kind of screen where you then click this link here. So you can do it either way. Okay, now we want to come over to the left here and click login. And then now we need to enter that password that we just saved. So copy and login. Okay. Now let's say, you don't really, we've logged into the admin panel. If you want to change your password, you don't have to. But if you want to change it, I'll show you how to do that. You just come back over to our remote client for our Raspberry Pi. So here we've got root at .pi. And then you just want to type in pihole, okay, and then -a -p. So we're saying pihole admin panel password. And so hit enter, and then it'll tell us now, okay, enter your new password. So you can enter, I entered the same password that I entered into earlier. And then again, same password again. Like I said, when you're typing, it's not showing you any feedback. Don't worry about it. Hit enter. And that's it. Now we've got a new password. Now come back over here, refresh the admin panel. It logs us out. Come back over here and then type in our new password now and log in. And there we go. So you can change your password like that if you want. Okay, so final stretch now. We want to come over here to settings. Come up here to DHCP and then enable DHCP server enabled. Scroll down a bit and click this save button down here. Okay, now very important, ensure that your device you're using, so in my case my laptop, or your computer, ensure that you're using Ethernet cable here, because you might get kicked off your network. You might not be able to get back in. But if you're using an Ethernet cable connected hardwired to your router with an Ethernet cable, you'll be fine. So we come back to our router settings now, and what we want to do, let's say if we go back to our home page, we now want to, so on our Raspberry Pi, our Pi-hole, we enable DHCP server. So what we want to do here now, if we log back in, we actually want to disable our DHCP server on our router, because our Pi-hole is now going to be our DHCP server. And what this basically means is that all of the traffic on our network, we don't want it to bypass the Pi-hole and just use our router. We want everything to come through our Raspberry Pi. So if you come over here, for me, it's under advanced settings. Depending on which provider you're with, just look through all of the settings and try to find DHCP. It will be there on 95% of all routers. So for me, I've got DHCP here, and then I've got enabled. I just want to click disabled and apply changes. And literally that's it. Now everything's fully set up, and all of our web traffic is going to go via our Raspberry Pi now. So in the next part, I'm going to teach you how to use the Pi-hole. But just to make a point here that, for example, down here now, I can see I've been disconnected from the internet because this laptop's actually wireless. I don't have it connected via Ethernet, but it's fine because I know what to do. But I just want to make a point here, which is that if you now unplug your Raspberry Pi, your internet won't work. So what you need to do, you need to keep your Raspberry Pi plugged in, because all your internet is going via the Raspberry Pi. However, let's say you do need to unplug it, or for whatever reason, I don't know, it stops working, I don't know. You just want to come back into your settings here. So do it via a wired connection. I can now no longer access this this panel here. Okay, so best thing to do in this instance is, after you've done this, so you've fully installed everything, it's always best to just restart your computer. That way you can flush out your DNS, and you can also do that in the run menu, but we'll just, for now, just restart the computer. It's easier. So I'm just going to restart my computer here. Okay, so I've restarted now. So let's open up our browser again. We want to come back over to our Pi-hole. So 192.168.0 and then dot whatever yours is. Mine's 1.4. Okay, so I wasn't able to get into the Pi-hole after turning off my DHCP settings. So I came and turned it back on. So now I'm going to come back to my Pi-hole, check my settings here again. Come over to DHCP. So check that it's enabled. Come and click save again. Okay, now I'm coming back to my router settings again. Disable. Apply changes. Come back to my Pi-hole. Click dashboard. Right, so it's removed me from the network again. Okay, I've connected back to the network. So 192.168.0.14/admin. There we go. And now I'm in. All right, nice. So now it's fully up. So I just had to basically come over here and enable it again, log in, save it again, come back and do it again. So if that happens to you, just follow those steps. Basically, once you've enabled the DHCP settings on your Pi-hole server enabled, come and disable it inside your router. And then if it kicks you out and you can't get back in, then just come back and enable it again. Try that again, and that should work. I found online that a lot of people had that problem, and my solution, this is my third time installing this now, actually fourth time installing this, and each time I've had to do that. So yeah, it's not a big deal, but just keep this hub page open anyways. Okay, so now if we go to our dashboard, we can see here our full dashboard. Now this dashboard, when you first set it up, it's a bit useless, but after 24 hours you really get the full day of data, and it's actually really helpful. You can see fully all of the different search queries. So for now, let's go over to our query log here, and then you can see here all of my different DNS requests that are happening. So I've got like Adobe, for example, messaging its server about something, Microsoft doing the same. Okay, so right now my desktop isn't connected to this Pi-hole. I've just opened eBay on it and it hasn't responded and showed up here. So if that's the case, then I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to restart my desktop computer. And then once that restarts, then it should load up via the Raspberry Pi from there. So you can see here, you got top clients, and then you can see this is my wife's phone. Her phone's connected to it. This, I believe, is my printer. Localhost, this is me. And then the XPS is my laptop, which is also what I'm using as well. So I'm expecting to see desktop pop up on here once my computer is finished restarting. And again, there's no need for you to install anything on any computer, phone, tablet, none of that. All right, so I've restarted my computer, and then there you go. You can see I've got 34 requests straight away. I'm just restarting my computer. So you can see when obviously when you're starting out Windows, you're gonna get a whole bunch of different apps that want to go and message all of their motherships back home. So you can see here I've got Adobe, even some WPad, I don't know, Typekit, Windows, Dropbox, Notion. Yeah, so you can see here all of the requests that are coming through, and the dashboard updates straight away as well. So you can see we've had 291 requests. 4 of them have been blocked so far now. Okay, so now what I'll do is on my phone here, I'm gonna open up some apps. So let's say if I open up my calculator app, usually there's an ad there at the top. So if I come up the query log now, I've got a whole bunch of queries from my desktop. We scroll down a bit here, we can see app-measurement.com. This is the calculator app, and it's blocked an advert that was at the top there. That's all good. Let's open up our web browser and let's go to the sun.co.uk. Now if we click our query log. Okay, so it's blocked a bunch of ads you can see here from the Sun. Fine by me. Refresh it again. So you can see that just by going on these websites are doing, you know, dozens of DNS requests multiple times over. So you can see here dev.uat-thescottishsun.co.uk. So we can blacklist that. And so what I do is if I see that, for example, on one of my kids' apps or one of my own apps, if I'm going on stuff and I'm seeing it's bringing out a whole bunch of API requests, I can just go through and just block them all one by one on here. So prebid.theozoneproject.com, you can just blacklist that. So you can actually watch what's going on your network in real time and blacklist stuff as and when. So you got connect.facebook.net. Like, nope, I definitely don't want to connect via Facebook. Facebook.com. I didn't even go on Facebook. I went on the Sun, and somehow there's some sort of DNS request that's been sent from the Sun to Facebook.com. So we'll just straight away block that. Come back over to here. You can just see there are just a bunch of requests. The Sun, you can block that DNS request. There's a lot. There's even Twitter. Somehow Twitter got involved as well. All right, so let's say now, I'm going through and blocking certain ads on here. If I refresh the Sun here, you can see there's supposed to be an ad on the bottom there where there isn't. Now, let's say if I just wanted to block this entire website, see there's supposed to be an ad there and there isn't one, which is nice. So it's to remove the ads from the website. But if I just wanted to block the entire the Sun website, then I come over to blacklist, and in here I just type in thesun.co.uk, add domain as wildcard, and then add to blacklist. Now if I refresh it on my phone, yeah, it hasn't done it yet because I think the phone, like it caches the website, but once okay, we'll try it. I'll open it up on my computer here. All right, so I'll open it up on the computer here, thesun.co.uk, and you can see it's blocked. Basically, it will be blocked on my phone whenever it registers. We'll check that later on my phone. Okay, so that's how you block specific domains and also specific DNS requests. If you see a certain app is sending, a bunch of different DNS requests, you can take a look at them and block them individually. Likewise, you can block specific domains. Now let's take a look at actually specific devices. So if we scroll down to the bottom again here, we've got all of our devices here. Now you can actually click. So for example, here I've got my iPad. It's sent out 27 requests so far. I'm going to open up the iPad. I'm just going to open up a game or something. And these kids games send a bunch of requests. So there you see that it jumped from whatever it was, 24 to 74. So now I can click on the iPad and you can see here there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been blocked. But now what I wanted to point out to you was back over here on the dashboard, you can actually see, look, it's gone from 70. It was at 24 initially, 74 now to 154. You can actually see what each device is doing throughout the day. What's it's being contacted to, when's the last time it was sending out, and you can practically see when it was being used. And yeah, so by looking at this, you can actually see how active each device is on your network. And I find it very useful. Like today, you could see, how much my wife was on her phone versus me on my phone. You see all the various different requests going on. And so you can actually monitor specific devices. Okay, let's try the Sun again on my phone. So sun.co.uk, and there you go. Yeah, it's blocked. So for whatever reason, it took a bit of time to update on my phone. Okay, so now let me show you how we can add lists of thousands of domains all at one go. So if we open up a new tab and type in pihole, and then we type in block lists. So pihole block lists, and then you can kind of click on like any of these different links and you'll find people discussing different lists of stuff that they've blocked. What I use a website here called firebug.net. Then over here, they got a bunch of different lists that you can add. So what you can do is you can take all of these advertising lists here. Each list, so if I copy this, click on each list is a text file with thousands of links to all of these different web domains that are basically just ad providers. So now you can come over here to group management, add lists, and then paste that in there and then add. And so there it's added all of those lists. So this was one list, right? There are, let's say 10 there, 10 lists with thousands each, all with a bunch of domains for advertising. Now what I like to do as well, so as well as using firebug.net to just copy paste in these lists, I like to use this GitHub list that we've got here. So github.com / and then block list project and then / lists, and then scroll down here. So these all just lists that people have compiled of a whole bunch of different types of websites. So this one I really like because you've got it all based on the various different, categories. So if we go here to drugs, if I right click this, open a new tab, you can see here we've got a whole bunch. So have a look at that order there, one-order-that.news-website.net. So these are all just websites that are just obviously just selling drugs. And look at how many there are. There's literally thousands here. bppa.org. And so now what I can do is two ways I can do this. I can either I can right click and copy link, come over here, group management, add lists, and then copy and paste that in like that and click add. So now what that's done is that's added that to the add list. Now that's not actually going to block the domain. So what you want to do is you want to go to blacklist and add it in your domains here. So what I do is I actually just come here, Control A, Control C. So basically select all of those domains, copy them, come back to the pihole, and then paste it all in here. So that's literally put in tens of thousands or thousands of websites that, you know, are involved in drugs and all that. Click here, add domain as wildcard, and then add to blacklist. And look at that. It's adding all of those domains now to my blacklist. And it's amazing how fast it is, because you're talking about tens of thousands of websites there. So if I come back to my dashboard, so let's add some more. So what I would do is I would take, for example, gambling, right click it, Control A, Control C, come over to the pihole, copy that in, add domain as wildcard, and then add to blacklist. There you go, added. So I added 2,328 out of 4,702 because there's some duplicates. That's fine, that I already had. And yeah, so you can basically add any of the list that you want. Go through here, do what you like. One thing to note as well is once you've added all of the domains to your block list, you want to come over to tools and click update gravity, and then you just want to click this update button. And what that's going to do is that's going to just update all of your domains into the pihole to make sure that they are actually being blocked. And so once this is done, when you come back over to your dashboard, you're going to see blocked domains, and instead of it saying like 400,000, it will update to, mine is currently I think 3.5 million. It might take a while to update. So the first time I did this, it took about 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. Just stay on the page, don't navigate away, and just let it do its thing. All right, and there you go. So mine's finished updating. So if I come back over to dashboard, and you can see I've got 3.4 million domains on my block list, which is amazing, right? Once you've done that, another really cool thing that you can do is the regex filter, which stands for regular expression filter. So if I wanted to block a certain word in a domain name, you can do that as well. So let's say if there's a certain expression that you don't want, I'm sure you could think of a bunch of expressions that you might not want your kids or whoever to go on. If you was to then, let's say for example, I didn't like the expression Mary. So Mary.com. Okay, so that's a website. And then we've got Mary, let's do .co.uk. Okay. And then let's do Mary.net. Okay, so these three are all websites, okay? So now if I close that, and if I just don't like the expression Mary to be in a domain name, I can block and add that expression Mary to my block list as a regular expression. Now if I come up here and type in Mary.com, this shows up because of the fact that my DNS hasn't flushed. I can flush the DNS, do an IP config /flush DNS, flush DNS, IP config /flush DNS, successfully flushed DNS, and then Mary.com. There you go, it's blocked. And let's try Mary.co.uk, also blocked. And Mary.net, that went through somehow. Let's try Mary.org, that's blocked. And just all forms of Mary are going to be fully blocked. So Marys.co.uk, let's see if that works. Nope. So Marys.co.uk is also blocked. But yeah, so if you think about that, that's really cool in terms of what expressions you could block. Let's do maryprinters.co.uk. Nope, also blocked. Yeah, so that regular expression is really good. So obviously you can block things like, for example, this word. I'm not going to say it, but you can block that. And then that way, you know, this.org. I mean, it shouldn't work. It looks like it's about to work. Okay, yeah, so that's blocked. Let's do .com, blocked, .co.uk. And so yeah, so even if you don't like me, for example, and you don't want your kids going on my website, you can just type in my name there and it will block all of my websites that have my name in as part of the domain name. So I found that that's a really cool feature. And yeah, so that's about it. So obviously you can go on your query log and you can look at what's going on your network. And so you can see here all of the websites that I've just tried to go on. You can see that they've blocked it, and it tells you the type of blocking that occurred. So you can see here you got the regex, the regular expression blacklist. It's also going to have the merry ones that is blocked. And so you can obviously come here, for example, and you can whitelist certain things as well. So if I didn't like the expression merry, but I liked merryprinters.co.uk, I can come just straight over to here, whitelist it, and then now it should work. And there we go. So merryprinters.co.uk is now unblocked. However, if I go on merry.com, it's still blocked. So it's still blocking the term merry, but it's ensuring that, you know, Merry Printers is working because I've whitelisted it here. And if you go to your whitelist, you can see the whitelist stuff there. So now if I go to blacklist again, go to regex filter. And so here I can come and search for Merry. And then I can just delete it. And there you go. That term's no longer blocked again. I think the best way to look at this whole pihole situation is that it's a work in progress with you, and you kind of tailor it to suit you as you're using it. If you have blocked something, or let's say, you know, for example, you just you've set up like some sort of parental controls or whatever, you know, the kids can't go on news websites or whatever, but then you want to be able to just temporarily pause it, you can do that. So you can come over here to disable, click it, and then you got disable indefinitely, which would just be, you know, just turn off the pihole straight away. Or you can disable it for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes. But yeah, so you can pause the whole, you know, tracking and blocking thing for a certain period of time. You can even make it custom. You can turn it off for 24 hours, whatever. So yeah, play around with it. If you've gotten this far, well done. For me, I absolutely love this this software. I really appreciate the creators. And if you feel the same, consider donating. I think they've done a great job here. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. This was a bit of a long one, I know. Hopefully it's beneficial. If it is beneficial, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.